I am what hunger looks like in America. I am an 8-year-old girl who's not excited for the last day of school. Because this may be the last time I'll have lunch. Till September. I am a single father of 2 who works 3 part-time jobs. And that's still not enough to put food on the table. I am a 16-year-old boy who just got my first job to help feed my little sisters. I was created by artificial intelligence from faces of the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger.
I am what child hunger looks like in America. I am a 9-year-old boy who hopes a friend invites me to a sleepover so I can have dinner. I am a 15-year-old girl who goes for walks during lunch so my friends won't know I don't have anything to eat. I am a 13-year-old boy who gets into fights at school just because I'm hungry. I was created by artificial intelligence from faces of the 1 in 7 American children who struggle with hunger. Kids you pass by every day, but never knew they were hungry.
Hey, Billy. Well, folks, what did you think of that? AI-driven deepfake is here. Pretty convincing sort of characters on that ad for homeless faces in America. Makes you wonder how much of what you see on the news is real, how many of the announcers you see on the news are even real, how much of what you see on television is real at all, folks. So true to form, YouTube have deleted my video from yesterday. They deleted 5 of my last 7 videos. One may wonder whether it's worth even uploading anything to YouTube anymore. But that's where the audience is. I mean, I would move over to BitChute or Library or just go to an alternate platform completely. But there's no good just preaching to the choir. We've got to try to reach the people who are already asleep and still asleep, and they're on YouTube, unfortunately. So I'll just keep going. I mean, I'll keep uploading to YouTube until they delete my channel altogether, and then I will move over to BitChute and Library and other places. My stuff's already being uploaded there anyway at the moment, so you know, there's no point uploading directly to those platforms when they mirror my stuff from BitChute, from YouTube now. Otherwise, I'll just appear on there twice. But I do highly recommend that people go and subscribe to my BitChute channel. I also managed to get a video uploaded to ThreeSpeak yesterday. So once I can get it to appear on my Hive platform, then I'll have that sorted out as well. So that's another place that I can upload to. But things are getting crazier and crazier, folks. We're hearing now of all of this posturing about possible war and conflict with China, of course. And you can see how they're going to do this, folks. I mean, there's talk that relationships are breaking down between Australia and China, and so the Prime Minister is saying we need to expect a life in a poorer and more disorderly world in future because of strained relations with China. Apparently relationships with the United States and Australia are also a little bit strained at the moment. But I mean, that's just all theatrics, folks, because the United States will never sever ties with Australia. 2 words, Pine Gap, which is one of the most secret and one of the most important bases on Earth. So, you know, whatever the theatre is, the United States is never going to go away and leave this country alone. But they have to create the illusion for what they want to do. We all know that they want to introduce the Chinese system. This has been a plan all along. They really want to introduce the Chinese system right around the world. the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, all the world bankers. Hey, Billy, you're very friendly today. Did you like those seeds that I gave you? Billy likes to come and say hello, folks. And say hello to everybody, Billy. He's a very friendly little peacock, this fella. But we know that they want to introduce the Chinese model right around the world. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, they love the Chinese model. But how do they do it? How can they get that introduced to the world where the world is going to accept it? Well, they can create even some semblance of an invasion here. They could do that. They could get away with having a lot of Indonesians or Chinese or whatever come to Australia because we really can't defend this country. And they can do that while the United States is in a state of complete turmoil. I mean, you've got people in the United States literally burning their own flags and telling, that they want the police disbanded and all the stuff they're doing, which is all supporting this whole globalist agenda right down the line. So, you can see how they can do it, folks. It's the perfect timing for China to do what it wants to do and do it under the pretext of an invasion or the pretext of retaliation for what the Western countries are saying about it and the virus. They're all blaming China for releasing the virus. Should we investigate China? Should they take responsibility for crashing the world economy the way they've done? And it hasn't been China. It's been done via the actions of the politicians. All of it is through the actions of the politicians. But they have to create the excuses for it, folks. They have to create the excuse to let the world go into the state they want it to go into and to make it look like it was just a normal course of events. But like I said on the last report, none of the economic hardship that we're seeing is the result of COVID-19. COVID-19 has done nothing to the world economy. What has happened to the world economy is it has been decimated by politicians, and they've used COVID-19 as the excuse to do that. That's all it is. And it's like China threw a party and invited everybody and then left. China says, oh, look, we've got this terrible virus, and then they build all these hospitals and do all this stuff, and then within a month it's all gone, it's all over. And the whole rest of the Western world has been decimated because of it. So, how much of this do you think was theatrics? And you can't say, well, they released the virus into the West and, it's them that's done it. There is no pandemic. When you understand how viruses work, there is no pandemic. This is all fiction. It's all theatre. But they're setting the world up for whatever it is they're going to do next. I mean, there will be a second wave, whether it's going to be 5G related, whether it's going to be vaccine related, whether it's going to be the people that receive the tests. However they're going to do it, there will be a second wave, and the people mostly will buy into it and believe that it's the second outbreak of COVID because they've set the stage for it. But that's what all this has been about. This whole first wave, so-called first wave, has simply been the preliminary action they've taken for the real pandemic that they wish to unleash, which will be probably mostly as fictional as the first one. It's interesting how they play these things, folks. It really is. And it's interesting how they can just get people to buy into it. But, it's the perfect way to introduce the Chinese model. Order out of chaos, but you have to completely demoralize and destroy the West in order to do it. You've got the United States and the UK and many Western countries in a state of complete disrepair at the moment. They're just completely demoralized, they're frazzled, they're discombobulated. Society has been turned on its heels through this whole pandemic, which was the plan. And they want to have their phoenix rise from the ashes. But really what we want is our phoenix to rise from the ashes, folks. Like I said, this is a huge opportunity for freedom if people could simply see what's going on. So, hopefully they will. Billy, you're just really following me around today, aren't you, mate? You're really just hanging about, aren't you? What's going on, little fella? You're a very friendly bird, aren't you? This guy was born here, folks, about 3 years ago. He was actually born on the property. We've got a few of the old birds around. Look at him. He comes up. You haven't got any food there, mate. You're nipping my fingers. Haven't got any food. But, yeah, he was born here. The 3 old fellas are still around the place somewhere. But Billy's looks like he's almost going to get his first full plumage this year, which will be a big thing for him. But anyway, getting sidetracked. Sorry, mate, didn't mean to scare you. Getting sidetracked with the peacock, folks. But, yeah, they want to introduce this Chinese model, but it's got to be, you know, society has got to be completely brought to its knees for this to happen. Otherwise, the people won't accept it. So they have to make sure that the world is unstable, discombobulated. Like the Prime Minister is saying, we've got to expect a poorer and more, what did he say? Not dangerous. Discontented something. But a poorer and more disorganized, unsafe future because of COVID. And like I said, folks, none of it has been due to COVID. But anyway, I don't really have much to say to you today. I've got so much on. I really want to try to go and get through some of these emails that I've got in there. There's so much going on in the world. It's ridiculous. I just wanted to alert you to the fact that another one of my videos has been deleted. Yeah, like I said, 5 of the last 7 videos have been deleted by YouTube. There's 7 videos, I think, or 8 videos now deleted in the last month. It's difficult when I go to select a new video to feature on the channel because I look at the selections and most of them are missing. But you will find them all on BitChute, and again, I have sent out a newsletter to people to let them know that the video was deleted. If you haven't signed up for the newsletter yet, please do go and sign up to the mailing list on my website. I don't send them out very often. I'm not someone that will be spamming you with newsletters and trying to sell you products and items and things. Yeah, I really don't send them out very much. It's just if something happens, like videos get deleted or whatever, I just kind of send out a message, or if I've got a talk coming up, I will send out some messages in regard to that as well. But yeah, that's about all I have to say to you today, I think. I will get a report out for you again soon. Billy, what are you doing, mate? You want something to eat? You want some seeds? I will get a report out for you again soon. And probably in the next couple of days. There you go. And we'll see where we go from there. But thank you for tuning in again today, folks. Thank you for listening to this short report. Not really much to say, but thank you for listening to it anyway. I'm sure Billy enjoyed coming and saying hello to you. And I will speak to you again soon. Please take very good care. Until then, in Lakesh.
I think there's a valid concern that maybe we're giving machines too much power. Or maybe we don't want machines to be self-aware. In my opinion, everybody should understand that this technology is around the corner. Your children, your grandchildren are going to be living in a world where there are machines that are on par and possibly exceed human self-awareness. And what does that mean? We'll have to figure that out.
Inside his Creative Machines lab, Hod Lipson and his students are taking the first steps towards sentient machines. Scattered on shelves and tucked into cubicles, their robot menagerie is probing the biggest philosophical questions that face robotics and AI today. As these deceivingly simple machines squirm and babble, they're crawling towards a future where robots can autonomously adapt to and understand their surroundings, embarking on a quest to unlock artificial consciousness. We've been making huge advances in robotics for decades, but engineers investigating these philosophical questions has not always been a widely supported pursuit.
For many years, this whole area of consciousness, self-awareness, sentience, emotions was taboo. Academia tended to stay away from these grand claims. But I think now we are at a turning point in the history of AI, where we can suddenly do things that were thought impossible just 5 years ago. We humans cannot babysit all these incredibly sophisticated systems that we're creating. We need to gift them with this ability to see themselves.
To do that, Hod's lab is taking a unique approach. Instead of trying to understand and replicate something as complicated as human consciousness, they're looking into something a little simpler: the ability to imagine yourself, or self-simulate.
So the big question is, what is self-awareness, right? We have a very simple definition, that self-awareness is nothing but the ability to self-simulate. The dog might be able to simulate itself into the afternoon. If it can see itself into the future, maybe it can see itself having its next meal. Now, if you can simulate yourself, you can imagine yourself into the future, you're self-aware. With that definition, we can build it into machines.
The first idea to use the arm really came about because arms are one of the most common types of robots, and they're also fairly simple.
We have the robot start by flailing around. We call this motor babbling. It just moves, it's just like a child in a crib.
After moving for one day, it collected enough information about its body to understand the dynamics of its motion, how when it moves, what's going to happen to its position and the ability to move in the future.
The team fed all of that data into a deep learning model, allowing the robot to predict its next position based on its previous one. Essentially, it's using the model it created to imagine its own motion.
From there, we were able to use this model to plan how to effectively accomplish tasks. In this case, the robot is sort of going through a variety of different actions that it could attempt to make, testing them on the self model, and then executing the one which will bring it closest to its goal state. So in this case, the goal state is right where it is right now on the ball, and then it will move as its next goal state to the cup, where it will then drop it.
It's a little bit tricky because you look at this robotic arm and you'll see it doing its task and you'll think, oh, I could probably program this arm to do this task by myself. It's not a big deal. But you have to remember, not only did the robot learn how to do this by itself, but it's particularly important, it learned inside a simulation that it created.
To demonstrate the transferability, we made the arm write us a message. We told it to write hi, and it wrote hi with no additional training, no additional information needed. We just used our self model and wrote up a new objective for it, and it successfully executed.
So we call that zero-shot learning. We humans are terrific at doing that thing. I can show you a tree you've never climbed before. You look at it, you think a little bit, and bam, you climb the tree. And the same thing happens with a robot.
The next steps for us are really working towards bigger and more complicated robots. Walking robots are much more of a dynamic and complex system, and as such, we're actually going to start developing on that robot over there. So it will do the motor babbling, and we hope that we can learn a variety of tasks on that, the same way that we did on the arm robot. We believe that while this is a small, simple start, by progressively improving the model and the bodies and the capacity of these robots, we can push the border between robot and human to become smaller and smaller with each additional iteration.
Every automated system would benefit from being self-aware. Everything from driverless cars to airplanes to smart cities to traffic lights. Imagine that your factory is operating, it's creating, I don't know what, solar panels, and it understands if things are working well. It can foresee a problem on the horizon, and it's going to take measures to compensate or recover from that. All that is incredibly useful no matter what you're doing.
But regardless of the benefits, the idea of self-aware machines will inevitably raise concerns. Experts from the likes of Stephen Hawking to Elon Musk have warned about the dangers of advancing AI, cautioning against a future where it progresses to a point beyond human control.
To me, it's very similar to the discovery of fire. You can do a lot of bad things with fire, but there's no doubt that fire is an incredible technology, changed our civilizations forever. So we can try to quench it and say, okay, we're not touching this. But I think a much smarter thing to do is to say, how can we try to use this technology for good and sort of understand its pitfalls? Discovering the ability to build self-aware machine will change our ability in big ways. Is it going to take 10 years or 50 years? I don't know, but it's going to happen in our lifetimes. And we have to make sure we understand how to use it properly, because the benefits far outweigh the risks if we can handle it.
I was created by artificial intelligence from faces of the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger.
I was created by artificial intelligence from faces of the 1 in 7 American children who struggle with hunger.